We don't need quick hits.
That's right. You heard it to start the show. We don't need quick hits here.
We need notes. Welcome to the Purple People Podcast. Fuck notes.
Yeah, we as you can tell, it's the Kyle and Kyle show, so there are no notes prepared. We do have stats. We do have a game to talk about. Welcome to the Purple People Podcast this week, guys.
Woo!
Glad to be back. My parents were in town for Thanksgiving. Hope you guys had a great Thanksgiving.
Yeah.
So we came out the bye week. We're going to talk about the Seattle game. A heartbreaker, but we were competitive. That's good. I'm in such a better mood now than I was. If you guys would have talked to me Sunday night, I said the thing that I've never said since becoming a Vikings fan. I said, screw this team. I'm not watching another game. I finally hit that point in the season, that point in my Vikings fan tenure. But don't ever break up with someone when you're emotional. So I let the feelings die down. It's Sunday. I'm going to be watching this game against Detroit. I'm a liar. So
I know.
Yeah. So here we are this week, episode 372, heart-shaped Lockett. I'm not even sure that Tyler Lockett played in this game because they have Josh Gordon and this gargantuan Shrek-looking dude named DK Metcalf. He's a football player. But it was either that really cool stuff.
Who was that in the chat that was like, I would not want to tackle DK? Because he is just pure muscle. Was that Adam?
Yeah, it was Adam.
Yeah.
Oh God, that's so funny. No, I'm with you. I wouldn't want to attack him. He looks like he's made out of pure steel, which is just awful.
He's like Cordero Patterson, only good.
Only a receiver.
Yeah. Only a receiver.
Hey, you know what? Put some respect on that name. That's Super Bowl champion Cordero Patterson. Never ever thought I'd say that about him. That's crazy. Absolutely nuts. Before we get started, I just have I have such an addiction now. There's a website
a Jane's addiction.
Oh, spoiler alert, unpopular opinion. Not a big fan.
You don't like Jane's addiction?
No, and let's talk about that because we're just going to preview the show real quick. Or we're going to talk about this game real quick, and it's going to be depressing at some point. What's the best grunge band from the grunge era? Or I wouldn't say best. Who is your favorite? Because I think we all have a general idea of who everyone would say is it, but it's not for me. No, they're not even number 2. I think they're number 3 for me.
I'd probably go with Alice in Chains, even though Alice in Chains is a little more metal. I think they're more traditional, heavy metal than grunge, but I'm still going to go with Alice in Chains. They're one of my favorite. They're one of my top 2 or 3 favorite bands of all time.
They were my number 1 too, so that's crazy. Yeah. And then Stone Temple Pilots. There we go. We got Ying Yaj in the chat. Chorizo says Pearl Jam. See, they're on the top 5.
That's a good call too.
I like Alice in Chains. I love STP. I'll probably throw Nirvana at 3. But I just wanted to throw that around. I have an addiction though. I bought some jerseys because I found a nice little shop that sells the authentic Viking stuff on Instagram. They're kind of popular. A lot of the players drop in. Literally, the only reason why I would buy from there is because they'll show you the players signing stuff. So, I have 4 jerseys now. I had 1, and now I have 4, and I need to stop. So, if you guys could help me out and tell me not to do that, I need to save my money.
Which ones did you pick up?
I have a Paul Krause.
Nice.
I have a Dalvin Cook. And I believe I don't know if I bought this one. I don't think Adam gifted that. He gave me a picture for sure. But I have an Eric Kendricks. So we've got 2 current players that are studs, and then I have 2 classics. Then obviously we have the Purple People podcast or the Purple People Eaters jersey with all 4 of those guys in there, which is really sweet. That was the first one. But yeah, if you got some cool Viking stuff, send us a photo to our inbox and let's see. We might throw it up on here while we do a show, especially with Christmas coming up. You got to get people Viking stuff, right?
Yeah, for sure.
Even if they're not a Viking fan.
You just do it anyway.
Oh, God. Yang Yaj is going off in the chat. Yes, we're going to talk about Diggs. We're going to talk about the drops. You have a Rhodes jersey.
That'll be half price next year.
Yeah, that'll be 58% off next year.
Or what was that stat that I pulled up? 134.1% off based on the QBR 131.4 quarterback rating, quarterbacks throwing against Xavier Rhodes this season. So it'll be 131.4% off. They will pay you 31.4% of the price to take the jersey.
Oh, cool. Paul Gruber, what's up, man? Talking about some bands we should look up. I'll write that down. I've actually heard of this somewhere, I think. I'll check it out, though. So, yeah, we have this in the chat. We're going to talk about Xavier Rhodes. I just wanted to say what's up. Adam is...
It's our social media question.
Oh, yeah. All right, cool. Well, we can dive into that here after we get through some stats in the game. Adam is out. He's got plans today, and that's all right. I was busy last week, so we'll keep rotating the three of us around, and hopefully we'll get the trio back at some point. I'm sure we will. But, yeah, happy Thanksgiving. I hope you guys had a good Thanksgiving. It is currently December 4th. It's a Wednesday. And sorry it's a little bit later, but we did have a Monday night game, so it's relatively new.
Yeah.
Let's jump right into this game because it bummed me out because I thought we were going to win. The Vikings lost 30-37 in Seattle. It feels like we always go to Seattle now, which is super annoying. But it was a very, very promising game. I told Kyle right before we started, I personally became that fan who was like finally said something I have never said as a Viking fan, which you guys have probably been Viking fans longer than me. But I said, I'm done with this team. I'm not watching another game. So that's how that started out for me as soon as the clock hit 0. Yeah, so there's that. Yeah, it was a thrilling game. It was 17-10 at half. I really thought the Vikings were going to have everything swing their way, which is nuts because Seattle went into San Francisco and beat them, which was just such an amazing game to watch a couple of weeks ago.
Mm-hmm.
And you're thinking if they can go on the road and beat Seattle, they could probably hang with anyone. And it's starting to look like that Green Bay game that is the wild card game right now, a lot more winnable. But ultimately they lost. I think the name of the game here was turnovers. And, God, I just don't even know where to begin. What do you think, though? Like, what was the biggest takeaway from the game that you saw?
Well, I had kind of touched upon this in the chat. The game really was a 34-30 loss. Like, it was really tight. So Seattle got that last-minute kind of garbage time field goal that pushed it up to 37-30. But you really look at it, the Vikings managed to hang in there. I think, well, all things considered, you're looking at a game where we did not have Adam Thielen. And Thielen is one of the players on the team who accounts for game-changing, like, momentum-shifting plays. And then we also went a full half without Dalvin Cook, who is also a very dynamic player who has the ability to shift favor and shift momentum in the hands of the Vikings. You're seeing that without those two on the field, that like we have decent depth, but guys like Odubisi Johnson can't really swing the game in our favor. They can't create those big plays that like what a Thielen or a Cook can. So even though we lost, I didn't really like it. You're always mad after a loss, but I was not like super frustrated with it because all things considered, the fact that we put up 30 points in Seattle with those two guys out, I was fairly like, it was not an embarrassing loss, I don't think.
Yeah, no, that's very well said. I don't think that it's embarrassing. I think of it as a fight in this sense because every NFL game kind of is pretty much fighting.
Right.
It's a Goliath sport that we watch and love. Yeah, think about it. The Vikings essentially are coming in with a bruised hand that they're going to have to box with and a bum knee. And I don't know, man. I don't want to put any one particular source of blame there. There were some drops by Diggs and BC Johnson. When your leading receiver is Laquan Treadwell, no offense to him because good on him for making separation and finishing the play. I'm not here to talk crap about Laquan Treadwell this episode at all. But when he's the leading receiver and you have a couple of turnovers, we have 2 or 3, you're not going to win the game. It's basic fundamental football stuff. So
who would have thought that it would have been the back end of the defense that would have looked like the issues coming in to this season.
No, exactly. If anything, I was worried about the
Yeah.
depth of the front seven, and they've proven to be pretty damn good. Especially the depth in the rotational guys, Shamar Stephen, Fadia, and Nigbo. These guys come. Who caused that Russell Wilson interception? I forgot his freaking name. I'll look at it here. I'll find it. Give me a second here. Is it Armand Watts? Was that him?
I don't remember. I don't have the stats up in front of me. We're so prepared.
Yeah, it's Armand Watts. I can tell by the direct. Yeah, he's the one who helped with that amazing tip ball that Russell Wilson ended up batting back in the air, and Anthony Harris came in and scooped it up like it was $1 million bill, which is awesome. But
that was one of those plays that makes football so much fun, just because of the odd. Yeah. That's why football is so unique.
Well, that too, and that's one of those plays that never goes the Vikings' way. that's a play that happens to Kirk Cousins. And while we're breaking it down here, we'll talk about stats here shortly. Let's give out a game ball and a donkey. This is my first one of the season, and I hate that it's coming in a loss. I'm going to give my game ball to Kirk Cousins, finally. I'm finally going to give him a little bit of love because up until this point, he had 2 touchdowns in this game, 1 pick, which was not his fault. We'll talk about the refs, too, here shortly. But 22 of 38, rating of 87.2. QBR wasn't that great, but the man is trying his hardest, and he didn't have his full pass with him. The pick was not his fault. I love the pass to Laquan Treadwell, being aware he did that while he was on the move. I also love the throw to Rudolph where only he could catch it. People were doubting that one weird jumpy throw in Dallas to Rudolph. This one was on the money, and only he could get to it. Kirk Cousins is playing, we all know, without a doubt, his best football he's ever played in his career. And I'm happy to give him a game ball, even though we lost. I think that he's playing where he should be playing, given the coaches and the cast around him. So
yeah, I'm not going to put this loss on Kirk Cousins. I think he played well. I think you look at some of his stats, and the QBR for this one are a little low, but that's because we kind of entered a game where we had to throw it a bunch there.
Yeah,
and so there were some drops and stuff, and so that's going to make his stats not look the best. But if you actually watch the game, if you watch the tape, I don't think that this performance was on Kirk Cousins.
I thought he played all right.
He played all right. I mean, you look back at how frustrated we were with him earlier on in the season, where both you and I were like, "Screw this guy, we need to get him out of here."
And after that,
I wrote him off too.
And this team was 2-2. I was like, this guy. We've had what I said. I said it on a show at some point. We've had 18 games, and I'm sick of this dude. I did. I said it. I mean, I think we all were thinking that, but
hey man, we're passionate fans of this team, and we want to see him win. I do think that Kirk Cousins is playing himself into a contract extension.
Yeah, let's talk about that. Let's just go ahead and dive right into that, guys. Okay. This next year could be an abomination. We could end up finishing this season best right now, 12-4, go to the playoffs, win a game or 2. Next season you have a tougher schedule. You lose some people. We could easily go 8-8 again, 7-9. Which at that point, I don't know if Kirk Cousins would be retained. I don't think Mike Zimmer would be around if we don't have a winning season this year and next year either. Even though he's got a pretty good record. But if Kirk keeps playing like this, I'm assuming that he will. I think he's kind of ironed out. I think the system helped him a lot, man. I said it. I'll stand by that again with Garrett Kubiak and all that. I think the system helped him a lot. But if he keeps playing like this and he has a similar season, guys, we are going into week 14 and he has 4 picks on the year. 4. 2 of those aren't his fault. 2 of them are on Diggs. Absolutely. So really the guy's got 2 interceptions the whole year. This is kind of my hell right here, though. If I can just quote Ron Swanson for 2 seconds, is keeping Kirk Cousins for another 3 to 4 years. Is it the smart and safe move? Absolutely. But I don't want him that long. And it's not because I hate the guy. I just don't think that he's going to be the it factor. If it comes down to the Seahawks are not running the ball well, people are not doing whatever, Russell Wilson's going to step in there and win that game for you. I haven't seen Kirk do that yet. He doesn't really have a signature win yet. Neither does Mike Zimmer, if you're being honest. But yeah, I think he's going to play himself into a contract extension, which is
I think so too.
Probably going to piss off some people in the Vikings fan community, but we'll see. Anything can happen. Anything can go down. That's my game ball. Who's your game ball to?
I'm going to go with, even though it was a loss, I really do think that it was a good game plan that the Vikings came in with to attack Seattle. So I'm going to go to Gary Kubiak and Kevin Stefanski, the offensive coordinator duos for this team. I think that, like, knowing the pieces and parts that were out on offense and then having to adjust, I think that the fact that they were able to put up 30 points uh, speaks well for the direction that they're heading. And I think that it's going to be important to keep these guys and Kirk Cousins together so that we can have that continuity, so they can continue to build upon it. I do like how they were attacking Seattle. They were running a lot of screens. You know, we knew that they were going to be aggressive on defense, and they're running a lot of screens. They were having success with them. It's who knows what would have happened if Cook would have been healthy and playing for the rest of the game. I think that we had a really legitimate shot to beat Seattle in Seattle. It unfortunately didn't roll out that way.
Mm-hmm.
But I do think that the Vikings had a really solid game plan, and I wanted to under previously where you're like, what are they thinking? We always make fun of that one with the game plan of Bill Musgrave and the Joe Webb game, where it's like, what was the plan? Well, there was no plan going into that.
Oh, you mean that was the playoff game, right? After Ponder got hurt?
The playoff game after Ponder got hurt, yeah.
God, you got a guy who runs, literally makes a living running. I mean, we played a Tuesday night football game, one of my favorite Viking memories. We beat Michael Vick and the Eagles in Philly because they couldn't figure out what the hell Joe Webb was doing. And we're going to make him stand in the – that's like making Tom Brady be a mobile quarterback. Why would you do that?
Yeah, right.
Thanks for digging up old wounds here on the Purple People podcast. I'm salty about that again. Let's talk about that game.
Yeah, let's not talk about that game.
No, let's not do that.
So it's
oh yeah, sorry guys. I know Scott says, "Dang, you can't say you guys are doing it 3:45 Mountain Time." Like, I feel like the sun just completely took the rest of the year off because it gets dark here at like 5 o'clock on the dot. Yeah, I'm sorry, man. I have to go to bed at somewhat of a decent hour. I have to get up at 4:30 every morning for work and be there at 6. So my bad. If I didn't, I was just not going to do the podcast this week. So I wanted to get that to you guys. But he said his game ball goes to Kyle Rudolph. So that's cool. All offensive guys. Yeah, that's cool. That Rudy catch was great, man. If I could get a signed Rudy picture, that would be one of the ones, because I think he was airborne and it was just one-handed. It was beautiful. Rudy silently making a second half comeback this season after being super dormant the first half of the year.
They paid him more than they should have, so it's nice to see him coming out and contributing.
That's true. Hey, the best time to get hot is at the end of the year, so I'm down with it.
Right.
He said the donkey goes to the entire defense, but remember, that offense didn't score 30 points. 6 of those points were the pick six. Yeah, you're right. I don't know, man. I don't give it to the entire defense. I think that, like we said earlier, I think the front seven
it's mostly the back end.
I can't even give it all on the back end either. We have Harrison Smith back there. I'm never going to say anything bad about that man ever.
No,
I can't say anything bad about Trey Waynes. This is Xavier Rhodes' most deserving donkey yet, and I've given it to him probably 6 times this year. I don't know if it's yours, is it the same, but absolutely the donkey of this game. He could have been taken out of the game, honestly. And it's what's sad is you can say that, and I can argue. I don't know if I can justify it completely, but we can argue that even when he caused a turnover, that the Vikings recovered. He is playing awful this year, and I want to give some of the benefit of the doubt to it being that they put him on an island out there and they play a lot of man, which I think Mike Zimmer needs to. I don't know why that we have to stick to this formula that might have worked before, but the NFL is always evolving, whether it's 2% or 12% each year. This formula that we have with these players, for whatever reason this year on the back end, it's just not working like it used to.
Yeah, I don't know. Ying Yaj said it earlier in the chat where he was like, Xavier has reverted back to his 2013, 2014 form when that was early on in his career, when he was having a lot of penalties and a lot of struggles out there on the field. And I don't know why this season, but it seems to be there's Adam in the chat. It seems to be one of those situations with him where his confidence has gotten shook, and I don't think that he's been able to get it back. And I think he's overthinking, and that is part of the reason why he's getting burned. And I don't know if this is going to be a Blair Walsh type situation with him, where once the confidence is just gone, it just never comes back. I don't know.
I think that this could be one of those situations where he's gone, and I'll tell you why. Money. I'm not sure if the team will be able to trade him or if he's a free agent. I don't know the details. I don't have him pulled up at the moment. I'm sure somebody can correct me here soon. But
Adam should fact check us.
Yeah, he'll let us know.
Yeah.
But if you want and you want to move on, you don't need a gigantic corner anymore. Now there are some big dudes out there, like we get it. DK Metcalf is huge. Mike Evans is a tall guy, but most of the corners in the league, they're not tremendously tall. I'd like to see Mike Hughes get more development. Remember, he had an injury last year, so he's just now finished up what would have been his rookie season.
Yep.
So we have him. We have Mackenzie Alexander. I wouldn't be mad at all if we drafted a corner in the first round next year. I wouldn't be mad at all about that. I think the safety.
We're going to draft corner.
I mean, why not? You still have a quarterback that's locked up. Xavier Rhodes would free up a lot of cap space, but it just depends if he's a trade candidate or not, if that's even possible. Mike, I'm sorry. Adam says ESPN is saying Zimmer's on the hot seat, and he doesn't buy it. I don't either. You're 8-4, and I thought that at the very end of the game, I was like, Zimmer, you're going to coach yourself out of this position you have for the team. But I'll tell you why I agree with Adam. That's a good point. The guy's record's like 55-36 since he's been there. He's got like a 19-game winning streak, which the only losing season that he had was the first year he got there, when 7-9. I think the key for him to stay and not get Ron Rivera is he needs a signature win, and I think a signature win comes in the playoffs. Say we go to Green Bay and the seeding stays where they are. We go into Green Bay and we go in and win a road playoff game that's outside. That's a signature win. I don't care if it's a wild card round. That's a good win. I think he needs a signature win, but I'm with Adam on that. I don't think that Zimmer's on the hot seat quite yet.
I don't think he's on the hot seat. I mean, it all depends. There is a scenario if the Vikings just completely fall, if the wheels fall off the wagon and the wagon starts on fire and the roof caves in at the Metrodome. And we just completely miss the playoffs and get embarrassed for the rest of the season, which I do not think is going to happen. That is always opens the door for a coaching change. If we go into the playoffs and we're competitive, maybe we lose, maybe we win one. We don't know. He'll be fine, and he'll be around for another season. Next year is going to be more because you're entering the final year for Kirk Cousins. If they don't succeed, I could potentially see them moving on from Mike Zimmer and trying to bring in someone else. But that's kind of a conversation for a little bit later on.
Yeah. Who knows what the mindset will be, what the circumstances will be, what the roster will look like, but Adam says losing Alexander is going to hurt. Yeah, and also I love to. I don't even like saying argue with you because I don't really argue with Adam. We just have good debates. I don't think the Dallas win was a pretty big win because Dallas isn't that good of a team. I really hate that they get that consideration just because they're Dallas. They have people on the Jets, and they're like 6 right now. The Rams have a better record than them. The Rams are pretty bad too. Same record as the Bears. Dallas looked hot earlier in the year, and they're fizzling out hard. But I mean, that is cool. It was prime time, and it was against a decent team at the time on the road. So maybe, Xavier Rhodes gets a donkey. I think that's pretty much the round table here. Everybody's pretty down on Xavier Rhodes right now. I hope to God he has like the best 4-game stretch of his career. If we're gonna be very safe in betting, we play in Minnesota the last 3 of the 4 games, and they're all division games at home for the rest of it. And then one's on the road against the Chargers, who are pretty bad. They're competitive, but they're pretty bad. I think at worst we could go 10-6. You get double-digit wins again, which is where we belong. I think this team will probably go 11-5, and I'm not sure if they're going to give up the loss to Green Bay or Chicago still has our number for some stupid reason. That would piss me off more than losing to Green Bay because Mitch Trubisky being 4-0 the last 2 years against the Vikings would absolutely make me furious.
Yeah, right.
Yeah, that's the preview coming up. we'll run down a little bit more of the stats. I know we're kind of all over the place, but
That's okay.
Kirk Cousins was good. Dalvin Cook, 9 carries, 29 yards. He left with an injury. He did have a touchdown early on in the game. Stephon Diggs had a cool little, I think it was a sweep maybe, 1 for 27. Madison only carried the ball 4 times for 22 yards. He filled in Cook's absence. He didn't look bad. I'm looking down here.
The thing for Madison is that at that point in the game, the score really dictated the Vikings needed to throw the ball. And so, I mean, I think that if you would have given him more than 4 carries, I think he would have done a lot better. He would have put up better numbers than that.
Yeah, it's sad because we've seen what the preview, and let's not discredit Seattle in this win they had at all. They're a good team. I mean, they've beaten San Francisco in San Francisco, and they've managed to hold on. They went in Philly, which is a hard place to win, and they beat them last week. They're on a pretty good roll. They've kind of figured out what they were. And a lot of what I heard, at least from being just a generic NFL fan, was, yeah, these guys went to the playoffs last year. They lost in Dallas, whatever. They made it to the playoffs, but they were kind of in rebuild mode. These guys could go to the Super Bowl, legitimately. I think they could go on the road and beat any team, and I know if they host a game, I don't think anybody's beating them there. So that's crazy. The defense is still really good, is my point there. I don't know what it is, man. Mike Zimmer looks like a poor man's Pete Carroll every time he plays them, and it sucks because these teams are so freaking similar. But, yeah. Going back to the stats here, Laquan Treadwell is the leading receiver, 1 for 158 and a touchdown, which was nice. Alexander Madison and Kyle Rudolph both had 4 receptions apiece, 51 and 50 respectively. Rudy had the other touchdown. Ham, Cook, Diggs, Conklin, Smith, and BC Johnson all had catches as well. Go. Minnesota fumbles. Pat Elflein recovered 1. Mackenzie Alexander recovered 1. Dalvin Cook fumbled twice and lost 1. CJ Ham, he fumbled on the final kickoff, and that sealed the game. So turnovers were not our friend. Spoiler alert.
Ball security has been an issue underneath Mike Zimmer. And I don't necessarily know if that's fair to blame it on the coaching staff or not, but it is one of the things that you can point to. You can point to ball security and you can point to clock management as being 2 things that just underneath Mike Zimmer, the Vikings have not been good at either or.
Sorry, Adam, I was reading the stats, so I'm going to read through some of these comments too, but I heard this today, and I believe it was on my Dan Le Batard show. I'm pretty positive. I didn't get to catch up yesterday after the game, but they talked in depth about it. They do like to talk about the Vikings on a Miami-based show, which is crazy. But the Vikings on the road, specifically in outdoor games, I think they're like 18-1 in the last games they played outside on the road. They are awful outside. So that's pretty crazy. But, you know, Adam's talking about in the stats, you got to take into consideration all these things because statistics do play a big role. Zimmer is historically bad after a bye. Cousins has never won on Monday Night Football. Seattle's winning home record. Mathematically, it was likely a loss. That stuff factors in. You know, like I said earlier about a statement win, if we have to play outside in Green Bay as it stands right now in January, that doesn't look good for this team. But we'll see what happens. Read through some of these comments again. Scott Schwab, not too many teams could do what the Vikings did at Seattle and almost win. They had a chance to win with 3 minutes left, all their timeouts and a 2-minute warning. Yeah, and I'll give it to him. He made efficient plays. What I like about Kirk this year is he's not trying to do stupid plays. Last year there was a couple of head scratchers. Haven't really had a head scratcher from him since the early part of the year with that Green Bay game where he tossed that game-losing interception. But even that drop at the end before the Ham fumble, he was trying to get to BC Johnson and he couldn't come down with a catch. I think it was 4th down. So a lot of these other guys, I've never thought we'd say this. They need to step up and play like Kirk Cousins is playing.
We're starting to miss Adam Thielen on the field. You know what I mean? It's like you miss his big playability, and that not to knock on guys like Odubisi Johnson, but you're definitely seeing the drop off between having Thielen and Diggs, who work incredibly well together and are both dynamic players who benefit from having both of them on the field at the same time. To now defenses can kind of key in on Stephon Diggs.
Yeah.
and you're taking part of him out of the game, and the other guys like I wish we had like Jarius Wright like right now, because this was where Jarius Wright was so good, where he would come in and he would just be like come off the bench and just make plays for the team. We called him Mr. Third Down because he would come out there on the team. He'd come out there on the team for third down and just make a play for us. And I wish we had him right now.
Yeah, unfortunately, he's probably not the happiest camper in the world over in Carolina. They have their own set of issues. But, yeah, we missed Jerry's right. That's another place I could see this team going now that we talk about it in the draft. Wide receiver depth has got to be a question. I think that these guys that we have are good, and maybe they can develop. Like BC Johnson, he's not terrible, but it clearly showed in this game in a crazy place to play on the road, prime time. He didn't show up like he did in some other games. And, that's expected out of a rookie sometimes. But if
he's a rookie, he's what, a rookie 7th round draft pick?
Yeah, exactly.
Okay.
We talked about corners, but I wouldn't be surprised if they could go after. I'm kind of hoping they will go in the 2nd round after a receiver, since we have historically bad 1st round receiver picks. But that's just me. I don't know.
Yeah, let's not do the 1st round wide receiver thing. Let's just I don't want to go there.
Next manager Kyle Smith right here. We're not going to get a receiver in the 1st round. All right.
Don't want to do it. Hey, we got to give a shout out to Bob Wells. He is a longtime listener, first-time commenter. That is awesome. Thank you for joining us, Bob.
What's up, Bob? Look, your name is on the podcast forever now. This is on the internet forever. Just like Adam saying that Thielen and Cook would have been great on that lady drive. He says, last lady. I love the speaker on StreamYard. It's so good.
And Sergio bringing up, too, that also Chad Beebe being injured and not playing for the Vikings right now, too. It's like you don't know how much he could potentially be a big benefit to the team right now as well, too.
I said this before, just to piggyback on that, is guard round 1 no matter what. Hey, I'm cool with that too. I'm cool with that.
Corner.
Yeah, we'll take like a punter in the 2nd round. I don't know, just something Viking that we would do. But yeah, look, Beebe, talking about Beebe is one of the things I'm starting to learn more as you try to find something every year. At least I try to find something you learn about the game, and that acceleration that he had. God, man, do you miss that? Do you miss that? Even if it's only on a slant, even if it's only over the middle, that's pretty much what Jarius Wright did. But I think Beebe's a little bit faster than what Wright used to be. So I don't know.
I'm telling you, man, we need some Adam Thielen.
Good. Rod makes a good point. Disappointing. This is probably going to be a loss. Seems like when the schedule came out, would have been helpful in the seeding. Yeah, I'm not sure what would have happened there. Because Seattle won, the seeding bracket looked completely upside down from what it did a week ago. Seattle is currently the number 2. They were the 5th. San Francisco, that monstrous team full of aliens that will eat your babies, they are number 5, which is crazy. Right now, as it sits, San Francisco would go to Dallas, and I would put my rent money down. They would win by at least 2 touchdowns in that game.
Right.
It's crazy because they have that loss to Seattle. It was the Ravens. They lost to the Ravens recently, which you can't really blame them for that loss. But yeah, the seeding bracket is weird. We would visit Green Bay right now as a 6th seed. They are number 3. We kind of went out, man. And what's crazy is if we win out, we're still probably going to be a wild card team, and that would make us 12-4, which only supports my theory. And I want everybody that's listening right now, all 6 of you, I see you up there in that little eyeball thing, including Kyle here. So that'll make 7. Can we do what the NBA does and change the seeding to just number of wins overall, please?
Yeah. Yes.
And that way, and here's my justification for it: every win counts, because I know that they're all professionals, right?
You just want to see the Patriots get thrown into the toughest imaginable schedule like the rest of us do.
Well,
right?
It's not even if you're good enough to be the 1 or the 2, obviously you deserve a bye. But Dallas being 6-6 above a 10-2 San Francisco team is ludicrous. That's absolutely stupid. They should be fighting it out for whoever. And I don't care if you have 3-4 teams. Obviously, you're not going to have 4, but if you have 3 teams in and they go in, 6-5-4 because they're division guys and they stack up, so be it. Every team in that format has to go into every game and be like, we can't lose, because Dallas is saying to themselves, well, as long as we win the East now, we can finish 8-8 and we're fine. And I don't like that. I think that's crap. I think that there's no way they should be above us, and they definitely shouldn't be above San Francisco. That's bullshit. Sorry.
Yeah. I like Adam's comment. Why does Minnesota always seem like they play Seattle? I don't know. It's like
in Seattle.
So they might as well. We're talking about eliminating divisions. Seattle might as well be in the NFC North because we play them every year.
No. Yeah. Adam, I get what you're saying. Don't eliminate divisions. I get it. Because the counter for my argument is the Seattle 7-9 team who beat the reigning Super Bowl champs that next year, the Saints, that epic Marshawn Lynch beast mode run. I get it. But they shouldn't be hosting anything is what I'm saying. Dallas shouldn't be hosting anything. They're not worthy of that. Their record shows they're not worthy of that. And that would make every win, I don't know the word I'm trying to say here. It would make him want to win every single game versus when you get to where you're at now, Dallas is definitely saying, well, we might lose these, but as long as we beat Philly, we can keep them out and we got us a playoff spot. That's crap. I'm sorry. I think they should change that. That'd be cool. Yeah, see, I'm cool with that. Sorry, I love how we have it. Win your division, period. That's cool. That's why we have it. That's why it works. I'm just over here shouting out crazy fan takes. Don't listen to me. Not too much to talk about for the defense. Anthony Barr led the way. Harrison Smith and Eric Kendricks were right behind him. There was one interception, 3 passes defended, 5 tackles for loss. There were 2 sacks and 4 quarterback hits. So not as many hits and pressures as usual. Anthony Harris got the lone interception, which is great. Good awareness by him. Kick returns. There was a fumble of the pooch kick or whatever for CJ Ham. Amir Abdullah 2 for 41. Dan Bailey missing an extra point, which is really weird. He's been pretty good all year quietly.
Been pretty solid. It happens every now and then.
Yeah, and I wouldn't blame any of that on him for what happened. Let's talk about and shift to Adam, you're right. That pick is definitely not on Cousins. Let's shift to talking about the referees because I saw a lot of people online saying the refs cost us this game.
I didn't think so. I didn't feel that. I didn't think so.
No, they didn't. Now, were there some questionable calls? Absolutely. There's questionable calls every week, and I am in no way advocating for the refs because I pretty much openly hate them, most of them. But that job, you got to call.
Strong word you use there. You hate.
I hate the refs.
You hate the officials.
I hate the officials. But I will give respect where respect is due. Just in anything in life, if you have an opponent or somebody you don't like, take your emotion out of it and ask, could you do what they do? And if you could, can you do it better? I can't do that job better than them. I don't know football like they do, and it's a hard job. But I do think that the officiating was questionable in some spots, especially on the pick. That corner was – Stephon Diggs might as well have been wearing that guy's freaking cape. I don't understand that at all. Mm-hmm. I like aggressive football play, especially like the end of the Denver game. They let him play, but I think that was a little much the other day. The refereeing and officiating definitely needs to be looked at. That's something we could put in if you guys are down for that. How about
that's the one thing.
Referees?
There you go. That's the one thing that kind of annoys me about just like fandom in general. Like you said, there's always 1 or 2 bad calls in every game, but it never fails. You always go on Facebook or Twitter after a loss, and everyone is always blaming it on the official. Every loss is always the official's fault, yep. And that narrative does get a little tiresome. Like there are examples. We've been a part of examples like the NFC 2009 game against the Saints, where you look at the officiating and you go, yes. This is a definite example of the officiating costing us a football game. Not every game is that one. And so I do get a little tired of the officials being blamed every week for every loss. When Adam is correct, we should blame Booger McFarland and his awful commentary instead.
I'll say something that nobody else on the internet is saying, and nobody else probably agrees with because they love to hate on Joe Buck and Troy Aikman. Booger McFarland is my least favorite person to listen to. And most of the time when I listen to Viking games, I have to listen to Charles Davis all day. I don't like Booger
Joe Buck. Guys, Joe Buck is actually kind of growing on me. He's actually not too bad.
Joe Buck has grown on me over the years, and you know who I love that most of America makes fun of and hates? I love
Troy
Chris
Aikman.
Collinsworth. I love Chris Collinsworth. I think the way he explains things, he's just there. He's just kind of, yeah, we'll talk about a football game. It's live. It's whatever. Let's talk about it. But Booger, yeah, I'm with you, Adam. That is, I'm leaving that up there as long as I can. Somebody else say something better.
I know Adam is a really big Troy Aikman fan.
I'm going to wait for that. Talk about that while we let Adam respond to that. What are your guys' thoughts on Cook saying he'll be healthy enough to play this week? I have confidence in Madison being the starter. I think that if that were to happen, especially against Detroit, I'm okay with Madison and Cook taking a breather. Honestly, if we're going to make a push, having Cook and Thielen and whoever else to be out, if we can win some games with those guys out, especially the next 2 games, I'm not knocking on wood, guys. I'm not saying we're going to win against the Lions and the Chargers, but we should. We should be favored in both of those games. We are a better team. It's pretty clear. But if you can do that, let these guys get healthy, because I'd rather have Thielen come back for the Packers and the Bears game and him sit out, 8 games, 10 games this year, and then come back and he's like fully ready. Same thing for Cook. If you guys haven't noticed, I'm going to tell you something really shocking. Dalvin Cook's the MVP of the Minnesota Vikings this year. It's not even close. If he's not going to play, let him rest, man. Because I want him to come back in those crunch time games. Because if we can pull out, let's say we pull out 2 wins right now, we're going to be at 10-4 when we host Green Bay in Week 16. I'm perfectly okay if Dalvin Cook doesn't play either of those games. I don't want him to re-injure himself. He's been so good this year, and this isn't I guess the good thing for Sergio to say is this isn't a lower body injury. Thank God. So fingers crossed, man. But I have full faith in Madison. I love Alexander Madison.
I have full faith in Madison too. I agree with everything you said, but Cook is such an important part of this Vikings offense that I don't want to sleep on any opponent coming up, even though we should beat them. So if Cook is healthy, we need him on the field. We need him out there making plays for this team, because the offense really does run through him. He's a huge part of it.
Paul, can you provide more context, or anybody that knows that he lost it? What did he mean by that? Like, how did he say it? Also, Rod says, give me Romo every day. Yeah, Tony's a natural. Anybody who thought Tony Romo was coming back to play after Tony Romo was so good after year 1, they were like, you're going to commentate the Super Bowl. Tony Romo's awesome at that job. I'm glad that he finally found something he's even better at than he was in football. Good for him.
Pat McAfee, for the brand, Pat McAfee, best commentator in sports. Man. In sports. He will single-handedly make the XFL worth watching. Have you heard about the role that they created for him for the commentating thing?
They created something specifically for him?
They created a new position for Pat McAfee. They are just giving him a microphone and letting him roam around on the field. And they are like, you can go out into the huddle. You can be on the sidelines. You can interview. You can do essentially whatever you want.
Everything the NFL tells you not to do.
They're just giving him a free microphone and are like, just go. And that is brilliant. It is going to be so entertaining.
I'll tell you my favorite Pat McAfee moment. I can go from some highlights. Him kicking his own kickoff to himself was really cool. The stories that he tells about Peyton Manning and the pranks they did. The Troy Polamalu. If you guys don't listen to
Polamalu story,
listen to the Troy Polamalu story on YouTube from Pat McAfee. I bust the rib every time laughing, but I'm with you on that. And recently, I forget where they were. I want to say they were in Texas somewhere, but he jumped off a houseboat into a muddy river in a full suit, belly flopped in. Pat McAfee gets that's a great one. Good for you. That's exactly right.
I want Pat McAfee and Tony Romo commentating a game together. How entertaining. How entertaining would that be?
I wonder how that chemistry would be, because Pat's kind of intense and funny. Romo's super savvy and smart. That might actually be a great marriage
But Romo's also pretty funny too.
Yeah, he is. He's good at that job. I don't know who NXT Moro is, but sure. I don't even know who this is, but I'm going to sign off because you're the wrestling guru, and that's good enough for me. And I'm also with Adam because I, too, love touchbacks.
Yeah, team touchback.
They have to fight so hard, these guys, just to get to the 25. And it's like, if you did absolutely nothing and let the ball bounce, we could have started here anyways.
I'm going to make I'm gonna make that a T-shirt design for us. We've been talking about doing that for the longest time. I'm gonna make us a Purple People podcast team
I've got it.
touchback.
We'll make a red one, and it'll be "Make touchbacks great again." That'll be sure to piss everyone off. Like that was the Sendejo one was "Make football violent again."
Yeah.
Give me team touchback every time. Let's go. I love it.
We're pro team touchback here at the podcast.
All three of us. Let's go. Yeah. All right. So that was the Seattle game. Tough loss, but they were competitive and they did show a late surge. So I was very, very happy once the dust settled and my emotions wore off.
Who do we play next? Let's preview next week. Is it Detroit?
We have the Detroit Lions. And I don't
who's their quarterback? Is it Matthew Stafford or is he still out?
Driscoll, but the drama here, and drum roll, the drama here is I think they signed Kyle Sloter, didn't they?
They did. That's right. But I put that on the Facebook page.
Are really going to say, hey, third string former Vikings practice squad / bench guy, come in here in Minnesota and do it? Because I'm sorry, I usually don't say this for former Viking players, but if he starts, I hope the Vikings pick him off 17 times in a game. I really do. I want everyone to shut up about, you should have kept Sloter. I like the kid too, but if Kyle Sloter has to play for the Vikings, that means we're officially in dolphin tank mode and we're on to next year. So I don't know that he's going to play. I might look that up. We might post something on the page to see the update, but I think Jeff Driscoll, is it David Blau? That's who it was. David Blau. He played on Thanksgiving against the Bears. So it's either
because we were deciding if that was a real person or like a Madden creative player name because it sounds like a creative player. Like that's not a real quarterback, is it?
It's kind of that reminds me of Golick and Wingo. The pettiest show in America. That's the whitest name in America. David Blau. It's like the guy. This is the best name year for the quarterbacks. Is it Duck Hodges for the Steelers? All these guys that have came to Gardner Minshew. Like this is the GOAT era of quarterback names. This is the best era we've had for names.
Yeah.
David Blau. Kyle Sloter sounds like an 80s action star film. Like film star. Sorry, I'm fucking all these words up. We could do like promos with these guys' names. But I think for now, Blau looked pretty good. I did watch that game on Thanksgiving. It was the first game. The Lions unfortunately lost to the Bears. I was rooting for the Lions in that game. But he looked all right. I think he's probably going to start. He probably gives him the best chance. But Sloter being in there, watch out for an injury. That'll be a storyline for Viking fans.
Can you highlight Rod's comment? Because that's probably the most accurate one that's going on here, is that they picked him up just to try to get insight about the Vikings. Yeah.
You know what's funny? You know what's funny about that? He's not a former starter. Like, it's not like we cut him. Like, let's say Cam Newton was our quarterback and we cut him mid-season and they picked him up and he's been here for 10 years. The guy didn't play against a lot of the starters. And I'm sorry, this is going to be the most obvious fan armchair quarterback take ever. That's what you have film for. If you want to find out about the team, watch the friggin' tape. What the hell is Kyle Sloter going to tell you about the team? Get out of here. Get out of here. Minshew is a GOAT. Yeah, if the Air Force would allow me for the however much longer I have in, I would do a Minshew, little Fu Manchu thing. That would be great.
That's how we'll know when you're officially out.
The beard will be here full time.
You'll do the Fu Manchu.
Guys. Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, if he plays, doubt it, but he will shred our secondary. I don't know, man. That pass rush, and it's at home. Good luck. We're like ironclad in Minnesota, which gives me hope that this team could finish at least 11-5 because we have at least 3 more home games. So we'll see. I'm thinking we could do 11-5. But yeah, that'll be a good game. Let me look it up really quick because I'm unprofessional and I didn't have it saved. It is going to be a 1:00 game on Fox. So 1:00 home against an inferior opponent. This is a recipe for success right here.
Let's do it.
This is good. I think that's it, though. I don't have much else. So I'm looking forward to the game. Thank you guys for tuning in. Just tried a little bit different look into the banner things, here than usual. I like this more than the really, really bold, loud one that we have. It kind of looks like almost ESPN-ish here. Oh yeah,
Ooh,
that's a good one. What was it, 11 sacks. Yeah, that was a great. Oh, that was a rough game for him.
we got a social media this week.
Oh,
I
that's
put up
right.
on the
And
Facebook page.
how perfect that
So
Sean Reynolds puts this in at the very end of the show, because this is pretty much what we're tying into. I'll let Kyle take it away because he posted it.
I asked you guys over on Facebook whether or not Xavier Rhodes will be with the Minnesota Vikings next year, and we got a lot of comments on this one. I'm gonna start with Paul Gruber. He should have been gone before the trade deadline in 2018. That's when other teams may have thought he was worth something. At this point, everyone except Mike Zimmer knows he is washed up. Xavier is killing our chances of success, making an average defense look atrocious. Stick a fork in him, he's done. My answer is not on the team, not even in the NFL. That is a bold take. I like that take though. Steven Osborne says no, too much of a liability. Clark says nope. As soon as he got paid, he went immediately downhill and is not worth it. Justin Thomas says if we can find a trade partner, I say yes. I'd rather pay Trey Waynes and try to get some draft capital off him. Focus the first 2 rounds on a wide receiver and a cornerback. I think he was injured somehow and could recover, but for some reason his skills have just fallen off, then it might be time. So basically everyone is saying that he's not going to be a Viking next year. Everyone thinks that this is going to be the end of the road for Xavier Rhodes in Minnesota.
End of the roads closed. I think that it's a very good possibility, and we've talked about the cap situation just to kind of break even, or at least give us enough breathing room to make any sort of decision. Not a big splash, but we're probably going to have to get rid of another marquee player, and I'm just wondering who that is. Telling you guys, we've been saying it on the show for a couple of years. We got to start doing the Belichick thing. Got to get rid of these guys a year early instead of keeping around too long. I'm not saying that particularly in the Xavier Rhodes situation. I'm just saying in general, how are we going to predict that Xavier was going to be this bad this season? Because you said it earlier. If you would have told me the secondary was going to be the problem this year, that would have been one of the last places I would have looked. But who knows? I really don't have any words for it, honestly. Should we bench Rhodes? At this point, no. The problem with that is the money. For me, if you're paying him that much and he's healthy, put his ass out there. He's kind of a liability this year, but I think maybe we could scheme up something a little different. I don't want him playing one-on-one and playing man at all. That's been the biggest killer. And then, like the other night, just to kind of rant for a second, we goes over and he said something about busted coverage. He's throwing his helmet around like a 2-year-old. And then it's like talking to Harry, like, what? I thought I had help. Dude, you're an all-pro corner. What are you talking about? You need help. Let the safety do his job. I know the safety's come down and help sometimes, but communicate. Because I hate to tell you, man, like I love Xavier.
Okay, so those two have been in the same defensive scheme for a while now, and they're both all-pro.
And that's the thing, though. Xavier's had a couple of good years. Harrison Smith's had one average to above average year. The rest have been stellar. That guy is the core and centerpiece of your defense. Talk to him, man.
But I guess my point is that there should not be any communication issues at this point between Rhodes and Smith. Like, they should know what the assignment is for both of them essentially all of the time, because they've been in this same scheme now for a long time, and they've both been a centerpiece, a focal point of this defense for a while now. So there should be no miscommunications between Smith and Rhodes. None. I don't believe that one bit. That to me is just Rhodes getting burned and trying to place blame on someone else.
His signature injury that he always has, every time. Hey, Adam, Rod makes a good point here. We'll say $9 million or something. What's the going rate for a decent guard? Is it about $9 million a year? I'm just asking for all the friends and fans in the chat. I don't know, man. That's a good point, Rod. Glad to have you guys back in there. Holton Hill. Yeah. Hey, dude, I love Holton Hill. He might have been a dumbass last year and gotten a little bit of trouble, but he's for where he was picked, that dude could be a stud. So maybe rotating a little bit. I don't know.
We'll have to call Terrence Newman out of retirement. What's he up to?
The Brett Favre of corners. I still got another season in me. It's fine.
Put me in, coach. I can do it.
Oh, that'd be awesome. That's all I got for this week, man. You got anything else you want to throw in there?
No, I think that'll do it. I'm looking forward to the next game against Detroit. I think it's a good opportunity for the team to come at home and kind of course correct a little bit. And like I said, to kind of recap, it was definitely you're never happy after a loss, but I didn't feel like we were embarrassed against the Seahawks. And I don't really believe in moral victories, but if there is a moral victory to it, I think that's it.
You know, it was great. I was listening every Tuesday to Colin Cowherd on the herd hierarchy during the NFL season. I like his takes. This is probably my favorite thing that he does, even though I don't like a lot of what he says, how he justifies where teams are. And he called it a good loss. You can have a good loss.
Yeah.
I think this qualifies for that. But back to this, the Purple People Podcast Survival League. I got the reminder because it's Wednesday. I get it every week. If you're a part of the league, make your picks. It's coming down to the wire. There's a lot of people, including myself, who have 2 strikes. So make your picks. We're going to throw in some cool stuff this year for the winner. Mm-hmm. And if it's Adam who happens to win, we'll pick somebody else. But we're going to throw in some cool stuff. I've already said vocally, I'm going to go get one of these Purple People Podcast hoodies, shirts, whatever you choose, and your color, size, and style you're choosing. I'm going to throw that in there. Adam and Kyle have cool stuff they always pitch into. We'll cover it, and it's absolutely free. So make your Survival League picks. You'll get a free podcast shirt and more from this show. And check out Kyle West's stuff here. It's on our Facebook page. You can buy all kinds of cool stuff. He's a really good photographer, and he's got cool art. And I think you should support that because it's pretty awesome.
I'm going to make that Team Touchback t-shirt.
Do it. I'll buy one.
We'll get us a Team Touchback.
I already bought 3 things for the show, so I'll buy some more, man. Going over to the vikingage.com for Mr. Adam Carlson. He's been helping along in the chat tonight. If you go and click on an article that's written by Adam Carlson and you do something as simple as go in the bottom and comment and say, "Hi, Adam, that was really good," or "Skull," or "Hey, I like the Purple People Podcast," you're going to help Adam pay his bills because he's a writer, and that's how he makes his income. So going over to the vikingage.com, they have a good slew of writers there that'll give you outside of the box thinking for Viking articles, and one of our own works for there. So help him out. That would be great. He also writes for Undead Walking. If you're a Walking Dead fan, go ahead and check that out. We all have our stuff here, you know, like I do music and that on the side. Kyle West has his photography. And Mr. Carlson, he does this stuff for the Viking Age and Undead Walking. So if you're a Walking Dead fan, check that out and just support all the side stuff. We're not one of those shows that'll like tell you in the beginning of the episode to like subscribe here.
Smash that like button. Hit that bell icon for notifications.
Ugh.
Be sure to like and subscribe. Hey, you guys
bombard you.
You guys know how YouTube works.
Yeah, no.
Yeah.
I'm going to beg you to follow the show. It's fine. We still have 4 people still in 58 minutes later listening to this show that we do. So we have some good, faithful listeners out there. Check all that stuff out. Give us a like. Share it with your friends. And it's already December. It's already week 14 of the season. The year's flying by, man. It's crazy. But the team looks good. I'm happy. As much as you can be after a loss, it's heartbreaking like that. We're 8-4. We're going to play Detroit at 1 o'clock in Minnesota on Sunday. I'm going to watch the game. I think I'm going to watch it on my phone. That's what I'm going to do. I'm going to be playing G.I. Joe this weekend, but I'm going to watch it in the back of the room. You guys have fun. Thank you for joining me, Mr. West. And as Adam Carlson always likes to remind you at the end of every show, stay classy, Minnesota.